It's the all-wheel drive event at Lithia Ford of Boise. From hunting trips to ski trips to trips to Grandma's house. Nobody does AWD like LFB, Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Eat Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the flaming hot grilled cheese burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool day. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
The final buzzer is sounded on another night of Mountain West basketball, and it's time to break down the action with Tom Moser on another night in the Mountain West, presented by Circus Sports. Headed to Las Vegas for the Mountain West tournament in March? Make sure to stay at Circa Las Vegas and watch all the action at Stadium Swim, where the sports are on 365 days a year. Another night in the Mountain West has interviews, analysis, opinions after the final Mountain West basketball game of the day wraps up. All BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. The title sponsor of Bronco Nation News is Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out our full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Did your team just get a big win? Suffer a bad loss? Come discuss it with us. Send us a comment or question in the ICCU YouTube chat, or leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/BNN. Now let's go to the Sun Cruiser Studios and join Tom Moser for another night in the Mountain West on Bronco Nation News.
Hey, there we are. Welcome, everybody. You know where you are. You're on another night in the Mountain West. It's Friday night. Just a solo game tonight. Colorado State just finished off UNLV 70-62. Competitive game. Not the most free-flowing, but well-played game. Both teams had a shot to win. A lot to get to in this one, despite the fact there's only one game. We'll review that, hoping to be joined by Coach Ali Farouk-Manesh of CSU. But obviously he's got some things to take care of first. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Talk about this game. I will have a few extra thoughts on the Wednesday game between Grand Canyon and Boise, since I didn't do a show that night. Going to preview tomorrow night. And tomorrow, really all day, the 5 games on the card. Have a clip to play from Coach Jared Calhoun. BJ talked to him. So a lot to get to. And then, of course, tomorrow night, big show. 5 games spread throughout the day. 1 afternoon game and then 4 at night. A couple big heavyweight tilts coming up. So a lot to get to both nights. This will be our first time doing back-to-back nights, Friday and Saturday. 3 shows this week. Next week, it looks like we're going to have 4 complete shows. So really starting to kick it into another gear here on another night in the Mountain West. Really good feedback from the show on Tuesday night when we had 2 head coaches joining us, both Vance Wahlberg and Sundance Wicks. People enjoyed that, which is that's what we're here for. Good stuff. Hope to have some more coaches, maybe some players at times, some other things as well. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Anybody with a YouTube account can subscribe. Doesn't mean you're paying for it just because it has the word subscription in it. You're just clicking subscribe to the YouTube channel here. So appreciate all of you guys watching anywhere you're watching through Facebook, Twitter, or the YouTube channel, but we prefer the YouTube channel, and please go subscribe on there, right? BJ talked about that the other night. Obviously, I'm here by myself tonight, but I can handle it, I think. And so, like I said, one game in the books, 70-62 was the final. And really, I mean, as I said, this one started out kind of in a dire fashion for UNLV. And 9-0 within 4 minutes. Pastner did what you don't see many coaches do. I'm a big advocate of it. Actually, Coach Krzyzewski used to do it all the time at Duke when it called for it, but you don't see a lot of guys do it. He went full 5 out, 5 in, like a line shift in hockey, when he was not a little, but a lot disappointed with the way his guys started the game. And so coming into the game for me, you saw a really poor effort from UNLV on Tuesday night when they got run off the floor by Wyoming. I mean, that was a non-competitive game. They lost the game by 30. Credit to Wyoming without a doubt, but nobody watching that game would say that UNLV brought their A effort in that game, okay? They just didn't compete. And so what are you going to get, right? You like to think that most teams, especially in early January, are going to bounce back with good efforts. It's not like late February where teams are on quit watch or at this point, but you just don't know, right? It's a new roster. They're all never played together before, new coach. So I had no idea what you're going to see. It wasn't the ideal start, 9-0. Pastner just 5 in, 5 out, and then it completely flipped. So credit to the bench guys who came in, and Al Green, Benarby, even some other guys too, and they actually fought back and took the lead. CSU went really dry offensively, and for the most part, the last 35 minutes were very competitive until the final margin there, which got to 8 somehow. The game was pretty much played within a 5-point window, each team with a 2 to 3 point lead for much of the game. I think what was big, and here's one of the things here with CSU. They are known, they have this reputation because we've watched them as this, I've said this before, this free-flowing offensive team where they just get these threes up and they score a high number of points and all this stuff, but they slow the ball down. And even the announcers mention it. They play at a very, very slow tempo. I mentioned it the other night, 363rd before the other day in terms of tempo on KenPom. They take 20 seconds plus per possession. They have one of the fewest possessions per game. So it's the fact that they're efficient on their shots. Now, that's starting to change here a little bit in league play. And yes, they had some decent games in the non-con, right? They played Colorado, a Big 12 opponent. They played some decent teams that are empty. They played Virginia Tech, which is an ACC opponent. They played South Florida, which is long and rangy, and smothered Utah State. So they had some decent competition they played, but now you get in league play, you play against teams, even though Pastner's a new coach, league play is different. UNLV plays a very physical style. That was a physical basketball game. It started at 10:15 my time, 8:15 for you guys out there in the mountain, and it didn't end until after 10:30 for you guys and 12:30 for me. So 2 hours and 15 minutes to play a game with no overtime. And there was very minimal fouling down the stretch to try to stretch the game out, maybe 1 or 2 at most. So there were just a lot of fouls because UNLV plays that type of basketball. But CSU's offense has kind of come back to earth a little bit. There's a few reasons for it. One clearly is the fact that Jorgensen's out. He's a massive hub in there for them to run things. Yeah, he can stretch the floor by shooting a 3, but he's a very good passer and a willing passer, and he just draws attention, right? That Bemba doesn't outside of the paint. Now, Bemba, I thought, was effective tonight. He had a very good game. He played well in his return. It was a little slow at the beginning, but I thought he was pretty impactful, especially in the second half. Couple nice moves, couple rebounds, doing things that he's in there to do. So I like what I saw from Bemba, but they just the opponents now are understanding what CSU wants to do, and because the athletes and the defenders are a little bit longer, they're a little bit stronger, they're a little bit quicker, And it's just a little bit more difficult for CSU to run this great free-flowing motion offense. Let's face it, the last 2 and 3 years under Nico Medved, they have NBA guys. I know Isaiah Stevens technically probably like a G League guy or whatever they call it, but Isaiah Stevens and Nick Clifford out there, which really kind of helped the cause, right? They don't have that this year on the floor. And I love Muniz, right? I've talked about him, coached a guy, big fan, and he made some clutch plays down the stretch. He's not a break your guy down point guard that's going to be shifty and get by his guy and break stuff down for others. Now, he still sees the floor incredibly well, finds guys, assists, all over if they're making shots, but he's more of a back your guy down type of guy, right? And the opposite of that is what you saw with UNLV. I didn't mention this guy off the bench, but Isaac Williamson was really clutch in the first half, making plays. He's that shifty, quick guard. A guy like that would fit really well in terms of setting the table for this CSU offense against good defense. And I fear this is what's going to continue for them in league play. Not to say that they can't get hot and make shots. You saw they were dead in the water for much of that second half. And then in 30 seconds, they ripped off 2 threes and they went from down 3 to up 3. And it was kind of on the seesaw from here on out because they scored 6 points in 30 seconds. But I worry about their offense long term. We have a couple comments on here. I do want to get to those. Appreciate everybody chiming in here. Muniz and Butler were clutch tonight. Yeah, it's interesting. There was foul trouble on both sides. It wasn't a Vern Harris game, but we had plenty of fouls. Now, again, as I talked to, UNLV plays that way, right? Very physical game, so that lends itself to a lot of fouls. But Pasquarelli was in foul trouble. He had 4, and credit coach for Oakmanesh. Most coaches would go back to their go-to guy, one of their go-to guys. This is when, it gets down at a 4 or 5 minute mark, even though he's got 4 fouls, because, well, if he fouls out, he fouls out. He's already on the bench, so you might as well go to him. Ali left him on the bench, and he left Butler in, and that just shows you he's not afraid to go with the hot hand. He felt Butler was playing well. He felt that maybe it wasn't Pasquarelli's night. He wasn't getting open looks, and he left Butler on the floor, and Butler had that huge and one. And to Taylor's point there, Jevin with a couple big buckets. He got free on a good cut. UNLV lost him. And I think that layup put him up by 2. And then he hit like a little fadeaway. He didn't really want to shoot it, but the shot clock was winding down. And it was a smart play by Jevin. Got the shot off a mid-range fall away that he knocked in to put his guys up by 3. So those guys made some winning plays late. They defended late too. And here's the other thing. UNLV, they're going to feel like they gave this one away. Here's an accurate comment by Tatis. I'm going to assume that's a baseball name, but Ali switching to the zone late in the second half, totally confused Pastner and UNLV, and they threw the ball away a few times, and they went into a drought. Now, I was going to say, aside from that, when they had the lead from about the 5-6 minute mark to the 2 minute mark, I lost count of how many shots they missed inside. Now, they're not point-blank layups, and I talked about this at one of the other shows on here. It's not easy to make shots in traffic, right? Even though you're 6'7", 6'10", whatever you are, it's not easy to finish those shots. Oftentimes, there's guys around you. They're not uncontested. But, you got to make some of those. Hamilton had at least 2, if not 3. Bernarby had 1 or 2. Maybe there was one from Jones in there. They missed countless shots in the paint that CSU had to feel like they got away with one because it was, an open look and the Rebels just missed it. So both teams missed free throws. So it wasn't the cleanest game down the stretch. But look, it was as I said, it was a competitive game. I'll take that every night. Let's look at some numbers here a little bit. Both teams shooting about the same from the floor. 23-point attempts. The percentage isn't bad if you're UNLV to shoot 35%, but in a second, they missed 10 free throws, 15 for 25. Turnovers, few too many for the Rams. They're not used to turning it over that many times. Only 11 assists for Colorado State, and they only made 20 field goals, right? So many fouls, chopped the game up. It made it uneven a little bit. The bench points edge to the Rebels, second chance points edge to the Rams. Individually, let's see what we got here. So Bemba with 11, and 6, that's very good. He fouled out. He played 20 minutes. But if you're going to get 11 and 6 from him, you saw the stat before the game. They like showing that stat of the record that CSU has when Bemba plays X amount of minutes. And if he's working his way back, obviously they held him out until they felt he was ready to go. So you're going to get that from him, 7 of 10 from the line. He made some clutch ones late. So good job by him holding the fort down, certainly until Jorgensen comes back. Jevin only had 5 points, but 4 of them, as I mentioned, were down the stretch. Rex Steiner, 15, Pasquarelli, 10, and Booth, 13. Booth, 6 boards and had a couple big blocks late, too. From the UNLV side, Williamson actually led him in scoring with 14 off the bench. They only had 10 assists, too. That's just not really their play. But, I mean, look, Hamilton, 1 for 3. I mean, I guess you'll take that because he only took 3, but I don't like he should not be shooting threes. I know you can't dictate every single possession, but you hear the guys on TV, the announcers who talk to the coaches, right? They explicitly get information from the coaches about game plans, all right? Not totally everything, but they're relaying the fact that Pastner says, yeah, we're not really a shooting team. We want to drive it inside. And then like 40% of their shots are threes. So like, what does that tell you? Well, it kind of tells you that they're not necessarily like listening to and executing the game plan the way that Pastner wants them to. And, you know, I mean, that in a sense falls on the players. Like it just does. Like there's no other way to say that. And I mean, they did miss the bunnies down the stretch, but again, you know, that's a game that they're going to feel got away from them. Larry says Isaac Williamson had an offer from Olin. He would have been a better fit at UNM. You know, he would have, Larry. The problem is they already had Albury. If Albury doesn't go there, it definitely would have been, or Tannett, I guess, right? Because you can't have too many point guards. You will take 2. If Tannett, maybe, I don't know what the order came in there, but certainly if Tannett's not there, Williamson would have been a good fit for Olin. He's a downhill driver, kind of in the mold of Albury. That would have been interesting to see. Taylor asked if Pastner always jumps up and down. Yeah, he's animated. Let's just say he's animated, okay? And he's a rah-rah guy. He's cheering his guys on. He'll get on them sometimes. I don't know that he enforces what he wants to when he gets on them all the time. He did tonight, obviously. When you go 5 out, 5 in, 4 minutes into the game, you know, that's making a statement because not everybody will do that. But that's just the way he coaches. He's very animated, right? And yes, I've seen him do that before. And the officials know his shtick, right? He doesn't do it at the officials. He's animated, but you know, Lee says Butler needs starter minutes. We'll see moving forward. I mean, look, it's tough. Pasquarelli's got a longer leash than some guys on other teams, maybe as far as not getting minutes that I have already referenced from other teams. So I think, Butler needs those minutes. Maybe you slide him in for a guy like Cadulis, who has been starting because they've been small. Maybe if you can work Bemba back into the starting lineup and you go 2 bigs with Bemba and Booth, you can slide Cadulis back to that bench role and maybe put Butler in. Lee's, to my first thought here, Lee says the Rebels played with effort tonight. 100% they did. Okay, you can't fault their effort. I still, as I mentioned the other night, their roster construction is not super. Okay, they're kind of all over the place, but they did play hard tonight. There's no denying that. The guys off the bench, they were cheering for each other from the bench, which is a good sign. And again, after getting your butt whooped 3 days ago and staying in altitude for your second game in altitude in 4 days, after not having played at altitude all season, I was not sure what I would get out of UNLV tonight, but they showed up, they played hard, and they were in the game until the last minute, right? I mean, one more shot goes down, and yeah, it's a totally different ball game. Mile High Minute final score made CSU look better than it should have. They need to clean up their turnovers. Bemba coming back was huge, and Booth played solid. Yeah, Booth is just – he's getting better every game out. He needed minutes. He didn't get minutes at Notre Dame. He didn't get minutes at Illinois. Now, there was a controversial clip of Underwood speaking presumably about Booth overseas at a coaching clinic, talking about his talent, but that he couldn't really put it together in a game situation. Look, he's getting the minutes that he needs to progress, and he's playing well. Because I didn't think at the start of the year he was having this type of impact on the game. So 11-6 or whatever he had tonight, I think 11-6 Ben, but he played very well. And I think, Booth is playing very well. as we see here, don't forget, Coach Frokmanich is scheduled to join us in a little bit. He's taking care of some post-game stuff. Do you think Bemba would have changed the outcome against New Mexico on Tuesday? Doubtful. I mean, look, they were just a step slow that night. I think that was New Mexico just had a good game plan. They decided to choke off Munez. Now, I am worried because, look, we talked about this a little bit earlier. UNLV gave up 98 on Tuesday to Wyoming. And in theory, CSU's got more firepower than Wyoming does, right? Now, yes, UNLV had better effort tonight, but I mean, you would expect to put a little bit more on the board. They got up to 70 tonight, but they were struggling there for a while. It didn't look like they would get out of the 60s for sure, and they really only did with some fouls late. Okay, let's see, what else do we get here? Okay, so again, we're going to get to Coach Frokmanich in a little bit, but I want to let's get away from this game until then. I'll have some questions for Coach when he comes on. I want to backtrack just for a few minutes because I didn't really talk about what happened on Wednesday. And the obvious thing first is it's a two-pronged issue here. One is the fact that Boise just laid an egg, and it's unfortunate because they're really on life support right now as far as at-large stuff goes, and that's probably the furthest thing from their mind at this point, right? They're 9-6. That doesn't scream at-large by any means. It's a shame because they have 3 very good wins. They have wins against New Mexico, at Butler, and on a neutral against St. Mary's. St. Mary's is definitely an NCAA tournament team. Butler started to kind of come down to earth a little bit. They're not playing super in Big East play, and New Mexico looks good. So they have 3 really good wins. They have a couple other mid-tier wins, and, I mean, they're going to have plenty of opportunities for more wins. But it's the old, they let the loss against San Diego State beat them twice, right? Like, they didn't come out with the energy. I heard a lot about the 9 p.m. start. I mean, that's not Boise's fault. They didn't choose that. They chose they don't choose the times. The TV does. And the standalone games, unfortunately, in the Mountain West, get last billing, right? They're going to put the Big 12 on before the Mountain West in the primer time spots, if you will. And that's what happened on Wednesday. It was Arizona, Kansas State, I think, at 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain. It's just, that's the way it's going to be. You want to get on FS1 and CBS Sports, you take what we give you. That's what, tonight wasn't bad. It was 10 Eastern, 8 Mountain after the MAC games were on at 6 and 8, but we're going to see the same thing tomorrow night. I think they showed CBS has like freaking 5 games tomorrow, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. So the Mountain West is on at 11 Eastern. I always say Eastern first, but 9 Mountain. So that's late, right, for a game. And I mean, I guess it's an hour earlier because it's a San Diego State game, so it'll only be 8 local Pacific time. But still, like, it is what it is. So is it going to deplete the fan experience? 100%. And so in addition to the fact that Boise didn't play well after the game, the other big piece of it was what took place after the game with Coach Rice's comments. And, look, you can make what you want of it, right? And as Larry kind of asks it now, he said, what was your opinion on Leon's post-game comments? I was going to speak about that, and I hadn't seen your comment yet, Larry. Here's my thought on it. I think that it's to the point now, because, look, I've said this before on my pod, maybe somewhere else. As a guy I worked for, and then I took this mantra on, would always say, right? So if you've heard me say this before, just bear with me. In private, I will rip you up one side and down the other if you deserve it, right? You play like crap, you're going to get called out in the locker room, in the film room, in practice, in our team room, okay? You deserve it. That's how you play. But in public, I will always have your back, and I will always take accountability for my shortcomings, okay? Maybe I'll rip the refs, maybe I'll rip whatever, but I won't rip you guys, okay? I'll rip you in person because you deserve it, but I'm not going to blast you to somebody else, okay? Now, Leon's coached a long time. He's also coached under Mark Few. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to work the system, and he's coached long enough here, and he's built up enough goodwill. He knows what he's doing, okay? So this wasn't like some rookie mistake here that Leon made calling out some of his players and the fans. So what I think happened is he senses that, as John Feinstein wrote about Indiana one year, the season's on the brink right now for Boise. All right. As I just mentioned, they're sitting at 9-6. They're 1-3 in league play. They happen to play the best team in the league tomorrow night. Okay. So a few days later, after the comments, after the Wednesday night game, he knew exactly what he was doing. Okay. This is like it's a bullet. He doesn't have many bullets left in the chamber to fire to get this team fired up. He tried to change the starting lineup Wednesday. Clearly didn't work, right? Look, they hadn't played bad basketball leading into that. Yeah, the Hawaii Pacific game, granted, awful. But their other losses were acceptable. Nevada was playing good. It was on the road. San Diego State game, we beat that one to death. We know what happened there. They played great for the last 35 minutes, okay? They hadn't played bad basketball. Sometimes you don't get the results you want. They played bad on Wednesday. But now he senses and look, anybody with two eyes can tell you that Dylan Andrews is not playing good basketball right now at the point guard position. Nato is talented and he's got a great future. Hopefully that's for 3 more years in Boise. But is he ready to play 32 minutes? Probably not. Okay. Without some growing pains, you need more from Andrews. And maybe Leon's tried other things in practice, in private, where he's wanted to light him up and did, and it hasn't responded. So now he's going that extra step here, that extra mile, no pun intended, to really kind of rip him and try and get the best out of him once Saturday night comes. Now, as far as the crowd thing, look, a lot was made then today about the fact that BJ, what he reported, and I don't think BJ took anything out of context. He reported what Leon said. Okay, Leon made comments about the fans and stuff like that, right? And so it was kind of like, what is he going to say? I mean, what's BJ going to say? He didn't directly quote Leon, but talked about it enough to the point where it was something that was on his mind. Well, BJ reports that, right? So, I mean, I think, as a matter of fact, we can go to that sound clip. We have it here do we have it, the Leon soundbite? Where is it? Thought we had it. Oh, well, in fact, this is what happens when you're live. We got Coach Farouk Manesh, so we're going to bring him in, and then we'll get back to the Boise stuff. Obviously, Coach Farouk Manesh takes precedence, so I'm going to bring him in right now. Coach, you have me?
I got you, Tom. I'm walking in the hallways. This is super live right now.
I see it. All right. Well, this is what we do here on live. So first off, Coach, I appreciate you joining us here on another night in the Mountain West. Listen, great job getting that one done. Competitive game, back and forth, right down to the wire. What's your top of mind thought on this 70-62 victory for your guys?
Man, it was not the most aesthetically pleasing game I've been a part of, but I think that's the game we needed to win. To be honest, we needed to win a rock fight. We needed to win a war, and I thought our guys fought tonight. Being down 56-51, and then fighting back to 57-56, and it felt like we were stuck on that number for like an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we fought to finish that game, and it was a rock fight. At the end of the day, we knew it was going to be a rock fight. That's probably. Honestly, I think that's the most athletic team in the past 8 years of being in the Mountain West that I've seen. So for us to fight the way we did and compete the way we did down the stretch, that's what we were looking for.
Well, they have an interesting mix of athleticism and physicality, as you mentioned. I mean, that was a bruising game. There were fouls up and down on both ends, guys in foul trouble all over the place. So clearly, with the physicality in place, it helped to have the big guy back. Rashawn Bemba comes back. Talk about what he gave you guys tonight, 11 and 6 off the bench in 20 minutes. That you got to be pretty pleased with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like less about the basketball, I was just happy for him. And if you saw him in the handshake lines when he was coming back to start the game, he was just happy to be here. He was happy to be on the court. It's been a long journey. He was healthy all summer. And I know he gets a rap for being injured and whatnot. And he was healthy all summer, had a random sprained ankle, missed that, and then literally had a torn meniscus that just happened in the Virginia Tech game. And for him to get back to the way he was, like, I was just excited for him to be back in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, I wanted to ask you about this. You rode the hot hand down the stretch. I guess I would say hot hand, but Josh was struggling with foul trouble, and you kept him on the bench and kept Jace Butler in, and he rewarded you with that huge 3-point play. Talk about the decision to leave Butler in those last 4 minutes when most guys would go back to their starter and Pasquarelli.
I think honestly we have depth, and I trust our depth. And Jace was playing well at that point. I just trusted him on both ends of the floor, and I felt like Josh got stuck in a bad spot where he got stuck on the bench a lot just because of the foul trouble that he got in. And Jace was just in a better rhythm, and I thought as a group they were in a good rhythm, and I didn't want to mess that up at that point. And once we got the lead, I really felt like we had to guard on that end, and having Jace in there as a bigger defender to help rebound and whatnot was necessary for us too. And Josh finally got his 1,000th point, and I
Yep.
think you know how that goes. That is a huge monkey on your
Yeah,
back
it's awesome.
sometimes, and
Yep.
I think he felt that, and I'm happy he got that done. So now he can just play loose and not worry about it anymore. But no, huge credit to Jace for the way that he showed up and his presence on the court. You felt it the whole game. Hey, and your guy Jevin Muniz showed up in the second half. I thought
Yeah.
Jevin was huge. Like in the first half, he got in that foul trouble, and you know how hard it is to bounce back after you get those early fouls and sit for a long time. And
Mhm.
we've been challenging him to move on to the next play, and he moved on in a huge way. It was plus 18 on the score sheet, and I thought he was massive down the stretch for us.
Yeah, he had a couple nice assists that set guys up for three, a couple impressive passes, and then of course that little fadeaway at the back end of the shot clock. So, look, I say this all the time. You guys get this reputation for this up and down, free flowing style of offense because you make the shots and it's all splashy. But you played a very slow tempo, and as you mentioned, the rock fight. You won a defensive first game tonight. You switched some defenses up down there in the late in the second half, and I thought it caught UNLV off guard. They threw the ball away a few times. What do you see? Because you're getting better on whatever you're doing, man zone. Speak to the zone that you sprinkled in there a little bit.
Yeah, I felt like we had to change something up. They were just driving the ball and getting fouled.
Mhm.
And that's all the game was at that point. It was just a foul fest. So we needed to keep them out of the paint, get them passing the ball around a little bit more, and it was good timing for us. I thought the guys executed it well, kept the paint tight, and caused a couple turnovers in it. And to be honest, I thought we had a couple more missed shots that we just didn't come up with a rebound. But no, the two defense was huge for us down the stretch, and I thought that's really what kind of won us the game at the end. Our execution on offense obviously stretched the lead out, but I thought the defensive effort was huge, and that you're exactly right. The changing of the defense about that 5 minute mark
Yep.
kind of separated it.
So you obviously your first year moving over to the head chair, but you've been in the league for a while now, and there would always be those breaks because there was an odd number of teams where you get a couple like buys, if you will. We don't really have that anymore with 12 teams and everybody playing in every slot midweek and week. Does that change anything for you guys? Like you're going to come right back Tuesday and then next weekend again Saturday. I mean, does that change anything, or you just kind of still take it? I know I'm not going to ask you about the next game because you're going to say, "Well, we're just looking one game at a time." But does that change anything where you don't really have any days off the way you would a year ago or 2 years ago, where you get a full week off?
Yeah, and honestly, the last 3 game stretch we've had, we haven't had an off day yet. So tomorrow's a much needed off day for our guys, and they're probably feeling it more than I am. So that's going to be big for us. But yeah, I think, and I'm still learning that too. There's so many times, even in practice yesterday, the practice sheet had about 30 more minutes on it of
Mhm.
stuff, and I just stopped it, and we were done. It was about an hour and 20 minute practice, and that was including stretching and everything else. And I've learned that. I think early in the season we had a couple 3 hour practices and I wasn't really noticing it. And now we're cutting it back, and I got to keep cutting it back even more for these guys. They work their tails off. We just got to keep continuing to be more precise on what we're doing and sharpen up and be a little more execution in terms of what we need to get done faster, because you can't practice long anymore. You only have so much time to get it done, and we got to keep executing in a different way, but keep growing at the same time. So it's a fine line, and to be honest, yeah, I'm still learning it. There's a lot of stuff a first year coach is still learning through, and just like players, you got to get experience to get experience. The same thing for me as a head coach.
Well, that's as you know from your last handful of years, that's where the assistants got to give you the old nudge and say, "Coach, we're going a little long today," because the players don't want to tell you to. You got to get the assistants to give you a little nudge and tell you that that's what's going on. But listen, Coach, you got to 2-3 here in league play. You've played. I don't want to separate the teams to coaches in terms of tiers, but you really haven't had any breaks yet. You played teams right near the top of the conference. We're a quarter of the way through the season. As we get into this second group of five, if you will, that to get to the halfway point, what's one thing that you're looking for from your group to kind of keep improving here as we get to the midway point of the season?
get healthy, and then honestly, I think just keep growing. They know exactly. We've been very specific and intentional about how each person needs to grow in different areas, and I thought everyone did that tonight, and that was impressive. I thought everyone made the steps and progress individually that helped our team grow. So as a group, I think we need to keep executing at a higher level. We know what people are going to do to us defensively. We have to fight a little harder to execute on offense, and that's some of that's timing, right? And we've had different lineups. I mean, Augie hadn't played the five all season until
Yep.
Cal got hurt at Utah State, and so him adjusting to that and the timing of the flow of our offense, that's the biggest thing to me is we got to get back to flowing in offense. The defense has gotten better. It really has. It's gotten a lot better, and we've had games where we've guarded well. I mean, honestly, Nevada, Grand Canyon were basically the same defensive games. We just didn't finish possessions against Nevada. So they're buying into it, and I like where we're heading. We got to keep growing on defense, but this is a long-winded answer for we got to just keep getting better.
Yeah. Well, I think most coaches would say that. Well, listen, Ali, give my guy Jevin a fist bump for me. Enjoy the day off tomorrow. Enjoy this victory. They're not easy to get in league play for sure. And then we'll look forward to catching up with you again down the road.
No, I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.
You got it, buddy. Take care.
You too.
All right, that was victorious head coach Ali Frokmanesh of CSU, the Rams, with the 70-62 victory. So I talked about that game a little bit earlier. I just want to talk one thing that he said before we get back to the Boise discussion, and that was he said, we know what teams are going to do to us. And look, it's no secret. Just what New Mexico did on Tuesday, UNLV tonight, try to be physical with their guys. Bemba adds an element of physicality, but some of the other guys are maybe more along the finesse lines. Now, Jevin likes to back his guys down. I'm not saying some of the other guys don't like physicality, but if you bump them off their spots, it reduces their effectiveness. So he knows that other teams in the game plan now, that's how they're going to be defended. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. So coach knows that. The staff knows that. They have to learn to make adjustments. Obviously, getting healthy helps. If Bemba is fully back the way he was last year, and coach also spoke to that, he does kind of get a bad rep because he misses time a lot. He just does. Some guys are just more injury prone. I don't want to say he's injury prone, but he's missed time over the last couple of years. And if he's in there for good health wise here, and Jorgensen comes back, they're a much different team than the team we've seen over the last 2 weeks. And look, they likely fallen out of at-large contention in the same way that Boise is. Those teams, along with Grand Canyon, are probably in like the 5 to 10 percentile of getting a bid. They'd have to go on a huge smoke run here the last 2 months, but it's about getting better and winning games. And there's other things at stake and at play here. So coach knows what's going on. And, they earned a victory tonight. They'll earn a day off. I think they're at Fresno. That won't be easy because it's on the road and Fresno's playing good, but yeah, it's a winnable game. And the Rams have shown they can win on the road when they went down to GCU and dominated that game on last Saturday. So, okay, let's get back to what I was talking about before. I was talking about the Leon press conference, and I think we have a soundbite of Leon on the crowd. Let's see if we can roll that one.
There was none, and there was no energy from, I don't know if guys are feeling sorry for themselves or pouting, but we don't do that. And I kept looking at the bench, and it was dead. And I thank the fans that came, but that might have been the worst crowd we've had. I mean, I'm so grateful for the ones that came, because that was the emptiest this building's been. And now granted, the people that were here, I appreciate them so much, but that was a neutral court game almost for Grand Canyon. And it, after what we've been playing in and the crowd and it just was a dead atmosphere, and we played right into it. We never gave any, like I said, we gave a couple, some good minutes in the second half where we battled, good minutes in the first half, but that team did whatever they wanted.
Okay. So listen, he did call the crowd out. Now, he might feel justified in doing that, but that rarely works. So you got to be really careful. So now he's called out the crowd, and then he's called out his starting point guard. So you hate to apply a price tag to it, but one of their high price free agent acquisitions in the offseason has been called out. So he took issue with BJ's headline. I didn't see the exact headline. I saw BJ's tweets about it. And I don't think really that BJ said anything incorrect. Like Leon called the crowd out. Okay. He said it was one of the worst crowds, he whatever for a game like that. And I think the fact of the matter is he probably heard from several people that he upset people in the community with his comments because there were many people there. And the truth is, it did get loud when Boise played well for that 5-minute stretch and cut it to 6. I think they may have even cut it to 4, but they definitely had it to 6. And the crowd was fired up because I was like half asleep. And then I was like, oh, we got a game here. And it was a little loud coming through the TV. So, yeah, it wasn't full like you get for a San Diego State game in late February, but they were loud, the fans that were there. So if you're there and he calls the crowd out, you take offense to that. So I'm sure he heard it from several people, some people probably more important than others. And he decided, the only avenue he had was to kind of backtrack and claim that it was taken out of context, whatever. So we will see how the crowd responds tomorrow. I'm sure they'll get a nice crowd. It's a weekend and it's a rivalry against Utah State, but we'll see. The other piece, and this is what I wanted to get to almost more so than the crowd issue, was him calling out Andrews. Now, Andrews has played for a known agitator, if you will, in Mick Cronin. Mick Cronin does not care one bit about your feelings as a player, okay? And he's dealt with Cronin for 2 years. So I'm sure he can take it. But is it going to bring out the best in Dylan Andrews? We will see. We have to find that out, and we'll get our answer tomorrow. And it wasn't like Andrews was the only guy called out. I mean, he called out the whole team without calling every single guy out by name, okay? And that's risky. What I said earlier before we had the interview with Coach, and again, thanks so much for Coach Farouk Manesh joining us here, but is that this can go either way here. They could come out with their hair on fire tomorrow and win the game by 20. And it's like, well, Leon pushed the right buttons and that was the spark they needed. And everybody's like, oh, here we go again. Now they got a quad 1 win and, maybe they're back near the bubble. Or they come out, they play poorly, and it's like, well, he lost the team. So it all depends on how they show up tomorrow. And part of that is out of their control. It's out of their control because some of it is going to depend on how Utah State plays. Like, in all fairness, even though the game is in Boise, Utah State's the better team. So if they bring their A game, it's going to be difficult for Boise to win. Doesn't matter how hard you could still play hard and play well and come up short. And it's too late for that to be a good thing anymore in this season, but it could happen. And then maybe Leon pushed the right buttons, but it didn't show up on the stat sheet or in the scorebook, right? But I have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow night when that game starts. I wouldn't be surprised by anything. Dylan Andrews could come out and not shoot the ball at all in protest of what the comment about Meadow only getting 2 shots. He could come out and take 15 shots like he did last Saturday against San Diego State, basically to say, screw you. You brought me here to be a playmaker. That's what I'm going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised by anything, in fact, really, that happens tomorrow night, which makes it a very intriguing game, which it already was. Okay. That's why CBS Sports put it on 9:00 Eastern, 7 out there in the mountain back when they set the schedule a couple months ago, because it was supposed to be a very good game, and it will be a very good game. I think I saw the line was 1. Utah State's a 1-point favorite, so that's basically a coin flip, right? Now, obviously, Boise has home court advantage, and that's why Utah State's only a 1-point favorite, but still, that's a coin flip. It's a toss-up. So who's going to play better? Who's going to execute better? We will see. Now, that's a kind of a long-winded answer because I got to a lot of the preview. So since we're already on it, BJ and the full clip is available on our YouTube channel, right? As you see down there at the bottom, at Mountain West BNN. Okay. The whole clip is on there, and I really encourage you to go listen to it. It's about 12 minutes long, and we're not going to play the whole thing now. But Coach Calhoun, and he gracious with his time because he did this from Logan. He didn't even fly into Boise yet. He did this from Logan, gave BJ 12 minutes. Said a lot of great things. The stuff we're going to play, BJ asked him a very good question about how he's doing things differently in his second year, and then he adds some other thoughts later. So let's play this clip, and then I'll kind of talk about it after it's over.
I mean, I think that's a great question, right? It's the same thing with everybody that owns a business or really in life. What really do you want to accomplish going into year two? What did you take from last year? How can you get better as a leader? How can you hold guys more accountable? How can you get your bench better? What can you do schematically better? How can you manage your staff better, right? There's a lot that goes into running a college basketball program, that's for sure. This is high-level basketball, right? This is a league that has averaged 5 bids a year for 2 years. Not too many, people have the opportunity to coach at this level. So not wasting days, really trying to get better daily has been a big part, I think, of our success. I think I have one of the best staffs in the country, very connected. Everybody comes in, rolls up their sleeves, got great relationships with the players, and great communicators. So I think you're always going to be better if you continue to grow and, just really work at it.
All right, tell us about this Boise State team. Last year, you got them at home. Great game. You go to Boise. Obviously, it was a tough one for you, so kind of about the arena and the atmosphere there. And they're coming off a couple tough losses. Coach Rice, with some comments, calling some players out and just a little uneasiness, unhappiness, I guess, in Bronco Nation with where they're at right now, sitting at 9-6. I assume you're going to get their best game of the season, though, tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think, the only thing that we can kind of control is what we can control. I feel like we've had 2 pretty good days of prep. We got to understand what certain guys can do. We've got to be obsessed with the details here the next 24 hours. It's going to start and end with physicality. Who can win the free throw line? Who can win the turnover margin, right? Those are going to be a lot of key areas. But, just Boise State in general, what Leon's been able to do, it's very, very hard to maintain the level of consistency that Coach Rice has done. He's probably been my, guy that I've called for a lot of questions about the Mountain West, whether it was in scheduling, whether it was in rev share, you name it. Leon Rice is a class act. He's always picked up the phone and answered my call when I was coming into the league. So I have a ton of respect. I think leadership at the top is really, really important. His staff is really good. He's got veteran guys. I think, he's got Buchanan that, if I had to vote, he's a first-team all-league guy. I think Carmichael, I think Meadows, obviously, he's a beast. The 2 transfers that he's added, the freshman is tremendous. So they've played the 12th best schedule in the country. They're really, really good.
So I know you're not going to give me your game plan or anything, but what did you see that Grand Canyon did that frustrated them that you would hope to do again?
I thought Bryce Drew did a tremendous job of mixing up defenses. When it works, you look like a great coach, but let's call it like it is. I think Boise missed a lot of open threes, a lot of layups. Sometimes that happens. I think they turned them over at times. I thought Grand Canyon played extremely hard, but really what it shows you is, defense has to travel in college basketball. I think Grand Canyon is one of the best defensive teams in our league. They have the ability to mix it up. They're very active. And, really what it did for me is say, wow, in 2 weeks, we got another hard road game at Grand Canyon.
Okay, so about 3 minutes of excellent stuff right there from Coach Calhoun. And I really implore you to go on to the link here at Mountain West BNN and watch the whole thing. He says some other incredible stuff, too. He talks about how they look for players in the portal, building their roster. People ask all the time, how does Utah State keep doing it? Well, look, the coaches are the ones that are assembling these rosters here. And the way he's done it for 2 years now has been impressive, and it's really worked. But he assumes he's going to get Boise's best shot tomorrow. And he mentioned what I said in the Grand Canyon game. I thought Drew did a really good job of switching defenses. So Calhoun has been known to do that too. We have a few coaches in the league. Just talked about Coach Farokhmanesh doing that. Drew's done it. Not Alford, but Olin's done it. So there's several guys that'll do that, mix it up and switch things up on you. If something's working, they'll try and throw a curveball at you and throw you off balance a little bit. So look for some of those curveballs. But listen, great stuff there from Coach Calhoun. You can tell why he's a winner. Aggie fans, as they do, should appreciate him now while he's there. So I think we pretty much got enough in on that one. I expect a interesting game, as I said. I'm hoping it gives us one of those classic finishes. We had one last Saturday between San Diego State and Boise. Let's hope we get another one. Let's hope the crowd turns out. Jordan, one of Boise's biggest fans, is here just to support and say, go Bronx. So let's hope he brings the cavalry with him tomorrow night. to Extra Mile for some fan support, and let's hope we get a great environment and a great college basketball game. Now, we do have 4 other games tomorrow. It's kind of not what Tuesday was, where we had like 4 games that had like spreads within 1 and 4. It's kind of the opposite tomorrow. We only have 2 games like that. New Mexico at Air Force to start the day. I mean, shouldn't be the most competitive game. And I've said this before, but this Air Force team, not to say that they can't win a game or 2 in conference play, but what they've been able to do in the past, which has been knock a couple teams off and scare other teams. What's the great equalizer in college basketball is a 3-point shot, right? And they're usually, I won't say always, even though it's close to always, they're usually outmanned athletic-wise, right? But they can make up for that because 3 outbeats 2 often, or 3 outbeats 2 all the time. And they always have guys that can shoot the ball. It's not their strength this year. Their best players are their inside guys. And so when you gamble or you fall asleep because they take 25 seconds on a possession, they can't hurt you with a 3 ball the way they could for the last several years with Joe Scott, or usually throughout most of their history. And so it's just a bit more difficult to kind of do that over the course of 40 minutes when you're undermanned. And you saw that the other night when they played against Utah State and they lost the game by 35. They played well for the back half of the first half, and they still lose the game by 37 points. So you get a look here at some numbers between these 2 teams. I mean, what's Air Force? What's their game plan? I mean, their game plan, honestly, I hate to say it, is to hope that New Mexico comes in like half asleep the way they've been known to do in the past. Now, that was not really an Olin thing. We haven't seen that from Olin yet. That was something I was kind of critical of Richard about, sometimes not having his guys ready to play against lesser competition. And then sometimes they'd wake up and sometimes not. I know infamously they lost to Air Force 2 years ago. Last year they didn't lose, but they were half asleep again in the first half when they played Air Force, and then they got enough. They did enough down the stretch to win the game. Maybe that's what Air Force banks on. It's an afternoon start, probably a half empty gym, 3/4 empty gym, and half the people in the gym will be Lobo fans that make the drive up to Clune Arena. So, I mean, look, there's no way that Air Force will be able to score enough if New Mexico just plays their game. So I don't think that one will be ultra competitive. Same thing with the last game of the day. We get the Fresno and San Diego State, the Battle of Northern California against Southern California. The Aztecs playing with confidence now. And look, they've been known to play with their food before against bottom half teams. Notoriously, they did it a couple times last year against Air Force and San Jose State. Fresno, they drilled under Hudson traditionally. We'll see. I mean, Fresno's playing well. They're just coming off of a win, a nice effort at San Jose State. They're going back home. They're not getting much of a home crowd. Or I'm sorry, it's at Viejas. So traveling to Viejas, with the Aztecs playing with confidence now, right? And I think Dutcher's starting to kind of identify his rotation, although kind of varies from night to night. But, Bird stepping up his game a little bit. Guath now becoming somebody who it seems is going to be like relied on less. Like I think now from an outsider's perspective, we all collectively should start viewing Guath as like we did last year, like a talented guy. He's got potential. He's probably got a future in the game, but he's not like an all-conference guy, okay? And it's odd to say that because he could go out there any night and look like Joel Embiid when he was at Kansas, but we haven't seen it. And now he's coming off the bench, and he's not playing enough minutes to have a massive impact on the game. So, like, when you talk about the potential and the ceiling of San Diego State, I almost think you have to kind of lower it a half a notch because we're not getting the Guath that we thought we were going to get back in April or May when he told us he was coming back, okay? But they have enough other guys, right? Compton is certainly capable of putting good things together, and they will have an incredible athletic advantage tomorrow, no matter how good Fresno's played yet lately this year. And the fact that they're well and much improved, I don't see how they can stay with the Aztecs for 40 minutes. There is also a third game that probably will not be, shouldn't be on paper a barn burner, and that's the aforementioned San Jose State Spartans traveling down to Phoenix to play Grand Canyon. Now, Grand Canyon's kind of a mystery. The underdog has won all 3 of their games so far. They were an underdog when they went to Wyoming to open conference play, and they drilled the Cowboys by 12. They came home last Saturday as a big favorite against CSU, who was reeling at 0-2, and they got drilled in that game by almost 20. And then they went on the road, as we've already mentioned, on Wednesday as a 8 or 9 point underdog at Boise and won that game by double figures. So, I mean, who knows what you're going to get with Grand Canyon? Like, if you take those 3 games, those results, and flip them around, nobody will be surprised in the least. So I think they're a massive favorite in that game tomorrow. I mean, but the thing is, and Coach Calhoun mentioned it, they're a very good defensive team. I don't think they play the smoothest offense, right? I thought we'd get a Tim Miles classic on Tuesday against Fresno, and it didn't happen. Now, he was short a guy in Maundi inside, did not check the availability report from the league tonight. I'll look at that tomorrow. Miles, as always with this roster, he needs all hands on deck. Okay, you can't be missing one of your best, probably your best inside player against most teams in the league. The big guys for Grand Canyon, who Drew has called out earlier, played really well the other night. Demerol and Owusu Anane. Those guys played very good on the boards, finishing. And if there's no Maundi inside for the Spartans, it's going to be a long day on both ends of the floor. Maundi's in there, and the Spartans make some shots. Garland, Washington, Godarzi, some of those other guys, they unorthodox, but they find a way, it seems at times, to fire them in, especially when they're not expected to do it as a big underdog. Maybe we'll have a game for a little bit because, again, Grand Canyon, they can fall asleep on offense. This might be one of those games in the 60s where you don't see a lot of scoring unless the Spartans just don't show up. But I think that they'll hold the Spartans down. I just don't know if they can, if the Spartans can score enough to hang in there with this one. So one more game to get to, and that is what should be probably, aside from the one up there in Boise, the best game of the day in the conference, and that's Wyoming at Nevada. And just like I'm really curious to see what happens at Extra Mile, I'm really curious to see what happens here too. Sundance, when we had him on Tuesday, said, look, this is one we need to get. This is a game that, in the progression of a program, you need to go and win these games. They did win a road game, but it was at Air Force, so that certainly doesn't it counts, but it's not like going and winning at Nevada. They had a good win against UNLV, but that's at home. You got to prove you can go on the road and get wins against top half teams. Doesn't mean win every game, right? But get a win. And this is a prime opportunity for that. Nevada's coming in. I don't want to say they're walking wounded, but they're definitely a little limping in after what happened on Tuesday. They expected to win that game. They played well enough for large portions of it that they felt like they let one get away. The Aztecs made the plays in the last 4 minutes, and the Wolfpack didn't, and they came out with a loss. So it's whether you want to admit it or not, as a Nevada fan and as a part of that program, it's going to be difficult for you mentally to get up at the same level that you did on Tuesday to play San Diego State. It's probably same thing for the crowd. I don't know. Okay. Meanwhile, Wyoming's got to be filled with confidence. All right. They just scored 98. They played great that game. Forget about the fact that it wasn't UNLV's best effort. Wyoming looked very good. And so, they're going to travel. They're going to be ready to play. I don't think either team is a great jump shooting team. So who's going to generate the points from broken plays or second chances? We've seen teams, with UNLV being the exception, start to cut off Wyoming's transition offense, which was a key for them in a non-con, right? Teams aren't going to let them do that anymore. So Alford, guy's coached a million games. He knows what he's doing. He's not going to let Wyoming get out and go. He's going to bait Wyoming into shooting the threes because it's not their strength, okay? I don't know that the depth will be an issue for Nevada because they have it too. And so, I don't see this game either getting up into the 80s. Maybe I'll be surprised. I think last year they did play a very high-scoring game, but the rosters were constructed entirely differently, okay? I think it's going to be tough for points to come by in the second half. Flip side of the coin, okay, for Nevada, it's about how their guards play. I said this the other night. He's got – and Alford again the other night used a lot of those guys. He used all of them again. He's got Camper, Comer, Bailey, Rollison, and then he keeps using Walker and Robinson. And I just don't know how he can how there's that many minutes to go around for all those guys. And TR was bad on Tuesday. It's not his fault that they lost, but had he played the way he did in the prior 2 games, they probably win. He didn't do much at all. Camper and Comer didn't exactly stand out either. So there's a log jam for minutes in the backcourt, and at some point that's got to get ironed out. I mean, I said it with San Diego State before. It's great to have depth and guys you can play, but at some point it's hard to keep running that many guys out there when you don't play like a Loyola Marymount Hank Gathers style from 30 years ago, because guys don't get in rhythms, and it's just difficult. So I'm curious to see what happens in this one. Obviously, you give the edge to Nevada at home, but nothing's going to surprise me here, right? Like, these 2 teams were picked right around each other in the preseason in the poll. Now, clearly, Nevada's played a little bit better to date. Can't penalize them too much for losing that game on Tuesday. San Diego State has the potential and, should be able to beat everybody in the conference if they play their A game. So there's no shame in losing that spot at home right there, okay? But how are they going to respond here? How are they going to respond? And for Wyoming, again, this is a prime opportunity for them to go in and get a win and prove that they're not just kind of in the middle tier, they're in the upper middle, right? There's spots to be had there. There's some teams, CSU and Boise, that already have 3 conference losses. They have already beaten UNLV. For Sundance, who knows what he's preaching to his team in the locker room. They're probably aiming for a top 4 seed. Maybe the 4 seed is available in the Mountain West tournament. I know we're 2 months ahead of ourselves here, but that's where you should be aiming. So you get a bye on Wednesday and you don't have to play till Thursday. So that spot right now, as I said, with a couple teams that were predicted ahead of them with 3 losses, and you get this one on the road, that's massive for tiebreakers and all that stuff, right? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but very, very important game in Lawler tomorrow night. So I like how the schedule sets out. For me, it's 8, 9, 10, and 11. For you guys out there in the mountain, it's what would that be? 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? So should be no more than 2 games at once going on, maybe like a 10-minute crossover of a third game. But with the first one being San Jose and Grand Canyon, you would think that one, and it's on the Mountain West Network, there should not, those games go very quick. San Jose games always go quick. That one should be over by the time the third game starts, and we should be able to kind of watch 2 at once and not have any carryover. So I love how it's set tomorrow. I wish it would be like that all the time. It's difficult trying to juggle 3 and sometimes 4 games at once, but laid out beautifully tomorrow. So let's just set the stage one more time. Appreciate all you guys being here on Friday night, watching after just a standalone game, as Rothstein would call it, between UNLV and CSU. 4 games tomorrow. I will be back here. Who knows who will be with me? Maybe we'll have BJ. Maybe we'll have Jeff Grammer. Maybe we'll have another coach. We heard from 2 coaches again tonight, 1 live, 1 on a recording. Well, actually, we heard from 3 if you count the Leon presser, Coach Calhoun and Coach Farokmanesh. We had 2 guys, plus we heard from 2 others on tape on Tuesday. So we're rolling here with a lot of stuff, good stuff going on. Appreciate the interaction. Again, make sure you go to the Facebook page, the YouTube page at Mountain West MBB. Subscribe to the channel, please. Watch through there. Okay, watch through there. We'll take the watches anywhere, but we want the watches to come through the YouTube channel. Subscribe at Mountain West BNN. Let me see, what else do we got? I guess that'll be it. I'll send some tweets out during the day. We'll see who we can line up for the show. There'll be plenty to talk about regardless with 5 games. So I appreciate everybody being here. I guess I didn't do this. I still have this thing sitting here. It's the other one. It's the same one from the other night, BJ. Whenever it is that you're watching, Sun Cruiser, baby. I'll pop one open tomorrow for sure during the day when I'm watching. I don't have a 25-ounce one like you do. This is just a standard old 12-ounce. So that's all we can get down here on the East Coast. But thanks to Sun Cruiser, and thank everybody else for watching. Thanks for being here on another night in the Mountain West, and make sure you're here for another night in the Mountain West tomorrow night. That's it. Have a good night.